The corridors of power at Blackstone are buzzing again. Just months after the shocking death of its longtime CEO, a figure whose leadership shaped billions in global investments, the company is now under the helm of an interim chief. And the story isn't just about corporate stability. Whispers in financial circles suggest this isn't merely a temporary stopgap. Behind closed doors, alliances are shifting, old rivalries are reigniting, and questions are mounting about whether this interim appointment is actually the beginning of a very different era for Blackstone. To understand the weight of this moment, you need to rewind to the events that rocked Wall Street. The sudden and tragic loss of the former CEO was more than just a headline. It was an earthquake that sent shockwaves through boardrooms worldwide. In the weeks that followed, uncertainty gripped the firm, with investors desperate for reassurance and employees quietly wondering who would truly take the reins. The interim CEO's arrival calmed some fears. But behind that calm facade, a battle for influence was already underway. The interim leader, a seasoned insider with decades in the industry, is known for a calm demeanor under pressure. But those who've worked with him say he has a sharp edge when necessary. His appointment was framed as a move to ensure continuity. Yet insiders claim he has been making quiet but decisive changes. Some see this as necessary leadership. Others see it as maneuvering for a permanent position. Either way, the board's silence on a long-term successor is fueling speculation about what's really happening behind the scenes. While the markets watch Blackstone's stock price, the real drama's unfolding in hushed conversations and discreet meetings. Several top executives, once confident in their positions, are said to be feeling the pressure as the interim CEO reevaluates key leadership roles. Sources suggest that trusted allies of the late CEO are being moved aside, replaced with figures more aligned with the interim chief's vision. The question on everyone's mind, is this about safeguarding Blackstone's legacy or reshaping it entirely? Adding to the intrigue is the fact that the interim CEO has not made any public commitments about his own future. In media appearances, he sidesteps questions about whether he'll seek the role permanently. But a pattern is emerging. He's taking bold steps that someone with a mere caretaker title might normally avoid. From restructuring divisions to pushing through policy changes, his moves are sending a clear message. He's not here to simply keep the chair warm until the board makes its pick. Investors, meanwhile, are split. Some view the interim CEO as the steady hand Blackstone needs in turbulent times. Others fear that too much change, too soon, could destabilize the firm. Analysts note that every move he makes is being weighed not just for its financial impact, but for what it reveals about his long-term intentions. And in a firm where perception can be as powerful as reality, his growing influence is making some in the upper ranks uneasy. Then there's the question of legacy. The late CEO left behind more than just a company. He left a leadership culture shaped over decades. His personal network, his decision-making style, and his relationships with global leaders were woven into the fabric of Blackstone's success. Now, with a new figure in the top office, there's a subtle but noticeable shift. The old guard wants to preserve the past. The new guard sees this as a once-in-a-generation opportunity to redefine the firm's future. In private, some Blackstone insiders are bracing for what they call the big announcement. Rumors swirl that the interim CEO will soon unveil a sweeping strategy shift, one that could alter Blackstone's focus for the next decade. The details are closely guarded, but hints have emerged. Increased emphasis on international acquisitions, a pivot toward emerging markets, and more aggressive plays in tech and renewable energy. If true, it would mark a bold departure from the late CEO's more conservative expansion strategy. But not everyone's on board with such a pivot. Longtime investors loyal to the late CEO's vision worry that moving too far, too fast, could
$1 billion, of which they're going to saddle this company with every dollar, while 7 to 8 people make out the back door with billions 5 to 10 years from now and leave us in a worse spot in the healthcare industry in America. The fact that private equity now owns us from cradle to grave in every single way, shape, or form it's astonishing. And we have to commit to not spending our dollars where private equity is purchased. And I don't care whether that's a hospital chain they bought or whether that's a cemetery chain they purchase, we have got to start spending our dollars not in these places. Peace.
I guess somebody ordered food at whatever headquarters, whether it was Blackstone or NFL or KGMP, whatever the case may be. It's amazing that a service worker was actually able to, be the benefit of these.
The board of directors remains officially neutral, at least in public statements, but behind closed doors, there are factions forming. Some directors are openly impressed by the interim CEO's decisiveness and vision. Others are wary, questioning whether his leadership style will work in the long run. The uncertainty is heightened by the fact that the official CEO search process has been kept unusually quiet, no shortlists leaked, no interviews discussed. The opacity is fueling theories that the search is just for show. Meanwhile, competitors are watching closely. Blackstone's moves have always influenced the broader private equity landscape, and a leadership shift here could trigger ripple effects across the industry. Rival firms are already adjusting strategies, anticipating possible changes in Blackstone's approach. The interim CEO's unpredictability has become a wild card, one that could either cement Blackstone's dominance or create openings for competitors to move in on its territory. Inside the company, morale is mixed. Some employees feel energized by the fresh direction, sensing opportunities for advancement. Others feel adrift, uncertain about where the company's heading or whether their place in it is secure. Internal memos stress stability and focus, but the realities that change and the fear of change is affecting everything from recruitment to client relations. In an industry built on confidence, even small cracks in the narrative can have outsized consequences. The interim CEO himself remains something of an enigma. He rarely grants personal interviews and avoids discussing his own career ambitions. Those close to him say this is intentional, a strategy to keep both allies and rivals guessing. By staying ambiguous, he maintains leverage. But in a high-stakes environment like Blackstone, ambiguity can also breed mistrust. The longer he avoids clarifying his intentions, the more room there is for competing narratives to take hold. Financially, the firm is still performing well, at least on paper. Quarterly reports show solid returns, which the interim CEO is quick to highlight in public statements. But numbers can be deceiving. Analysts warn that the true test will come when some of the bolder strategies currently in motion either pay off spectacularly or backfire. For now, the market is giving Blackstone the benefit of the doubt. But patience on Wall Street has a way of running out quickly. The late CEO's family has remained largely silent throughout the transition, but their presence looms large. Some in the industry speculate that they still hold influence through personal relationships with board members and top investors. If tensions rise between them and the interim CEO, it could create a high-profile rift, the kind of drama that would spill far beyond corporate news and into mainstream headlines. For now, it's a standoff marked by polite public statements and quiet watchfulness. There's also a cultural shift happening inside Blackstone. Under the late CEO, the company projected a certain image: disciplined, discreet, and deeply traditional. The interim leader, while not flashy, is more open to calculated risks and less bound by old conventions. This change in tone is subtle but powerful. It's reshaping how deals are pitched, how teams are structured, and even how the company engages with media. The question is whether this evolution will strengthen the firm or dilute what made it unique. As the weeks pass, pressure is mounting for the board to make a decision. Officially, there's no timeline for naming a permanent CEO. Unofficially, every major investor call, every press conference, every policy shift is being scrutinized for hints. The interim CEO's allies say he deserves the role permanently. His critics argue that extending his tenure would alienate key stakeholders. The longer the suspense drags on, the more dramatic the eventual outcome is likely to be. In the court of public opinion, the interim CEO is walking a fine line. He's not yet a household name, but his leadership is shaping billions in global assets. Financial journalists are starting to frame the story as a test of whether a transitional leader can redefine a giant from within. If he succeeds, he could become one of the most influential figures in finance. If he fails, his tenure will be remembered as a turbulent footnote in Blackstone's storied history. Behind every corporate power shift lies a human story: ambition, loyalty, rivalry, and the weight of legacy. For those at the center of this transition, it's not just about deals and profits. Careers are on the line, reputations are at stake, and for the interim CEO, the decisions he makes now will define not only his own future, but the trajectory of one of the most powerful investment firms in the world. As Blackstone moves through this pivotal chapter, one truth stands out. The story is far from over. Whether the interim CEO cements his place as the company's new leader or steps aside for a successor, the choices made in these months will ripple for years. In the high-stakes world of private equity, change can be both opportunity and danger. And right now, Blackstone is standing at a crossroads, with the world watching to see which path it takes.